Most of us, when we hit a certain temperature, when we think, hey, I did 10 minutes in this time, and this is all inspired by somebody who posted in my group this morning. I said, hey, I was at 47 degrees, 10 minutes was easy, I think it's time to go colder. And my response was, maybe? There's other ways to go about it. There's other things that you could adjust. Colder and longer are not the only two options. Hi, this is John with Cold Plunge Connection. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the variables that you can adjust very easily to your cold water immersion practice to find out if it helps or doesn't help. It really gets down to that very basic thing. How do you feel during or after the practice or throughout your day? There's a lot of people that make these base, broad, general recommendations, and that could be a good guideline to start your practice with, but every single person is unique. And I've counted more than 30 variables that can impact your response to cold water immersion on any given day. So let's talk about 8 things though that you can very quickly and easily adjust with your cold water immersion practice that may or may not be counterintuitive. And how do we know if what we do, what we adjust, actually helps or hinders our practice? There's 2 ways to go about it. First of all, you can go about the intuitive approach, or you can use the specific scientific instrumental approach. Either one is valid, or you can do both. For the intuitive approach, basically you're just tuning into your body. You're becoming very aware of how your body responds to cold water on any given day, and just notice what happens. Second thing is, with the tuning in, you could use various instruments like a heart rate monitor to figure that out, or you could look at your heart rate variability or your body temperature. Whatever your favorite biohacking or biofitness device is, that is something that you could use to just really assess if this is helping or not helping you. So what are the 8 simple, easy things you can adjust? First of all is the water temperature. Colder is not the only option. The thing you could also play around with is adjusting your temperature upwards. How do you respond afterwards? Next thing is your duration. Again, the inclination is to go longer, but maybe go shorter and notice what's different. The third thing is repetitions. In any one session, you can get out of the cold water, and once your body warms up or your heart rate comes back to baseline, you can get in again. You can choose to drip dry or towel dry. Maybe there's a little bit of time between your session, but do allow your body to warm up. Naturally is best, but maybe you do a second round or add a third round and notice what happens when you do repetitions. Notice how that benefits you throughout the day. The next thing is your frequency. That's how many times you're plunging per week. If you've been doing 1 or 2 times a week, maybe go to 3, maybe go to 4 or 5. Daily plunging? Maybe. Most women do not need daily plunging. It can interfere with your cycle. Kristen Weitzel, one of my coaches and mentors for cold water immersion, has a very good video on this and a lot more information about this. And she can take a deep dive. So look her up if you would like to find out more information about that if you're a woman. The thing is, though, that also most men really probably do not need to be cold plunging daily. It's good for mental discipline, but you wouldn't do biceps or curls or repeat the same workout every single day at the gym, if you're doing weight training. You need to give your body time to recover, but do find what works best for you. Some people are more genetically disposed to be able to handle certain types of stress and stimulus than others. So again, find what works for you. The other thing you could do is reduce your amount of cold plunging. If you've been plunging daily or even just 3 times a week, maybe you space that out a little bit more. Maybe there's more time between your cold plunges, maybe a few more days. Just play with it. Again, notice what works for you. I'm not advocating a one-size-fits-all approach, or I'm not telling you to back off on your cold plunge practice or to do more. I'm saying find what works for you. The next one is how much you are actually immersing in the water. If you're just sitting up to your, below your chest, you may not be getting all of the benefits, or at least as many benefits as you possibly could if you're getting your shoulders underwater. Some people will suggest that if you can get your neck underwater, the back of your head, or maybe even your cheeks under the water, that is a whole other experience. Notice what works for you. Notice how your body responds. Another thing is to do head dunking or not. A lot of discussion about that. Some say it's an advanced practice. Some say anyone can do it. If you do choose to do head dunking, please have somebody around who can make sure that you're safe when you do that. I prefer head dunking in the beginning of the practice. For me, that helps me acclimate more quickly to the cold water. And I also like to end with a head dunk, but I don't do that every time. So tune in, just notice what works for you. The next thing is adding contrast therapy. So if you've been in the cold water, if you have a sauna or a hot tub, or just a nice steam room or a steam sauna, anything like that where you could heat your body up, try that and notice what works. Subsequent rounds could also be very helpful. One quick note about contrast therapy that some people, or many people talking about this, have not really discussed, which is the amount of time between the cold and the hot. Always allow enough time for your body to kind of at least reach homeostasis or pretty close to it. If you have to go for a time, I would suggest at least 5 minutes, but there's a lot of things that could affect that. Your age, what you've eaten, how well you've slept, if you've been drinking or not. If you've been drinking, you shouldn't be cold plunging and getting into a sauna anyway, right? But do allow your body, your heart rate to kind of return to normal, your temperature to at least return or get pretty close to baseline before you switch between hot and cold. And whether you finish on one or the other, that's really up to you and what your purpose is, what time of day it is, and what you're going for. So the next thing is the time of day. So are you plunging early in the morning, like very early first thing? Or are you plunging later in the morning, in the afternoon, after lunch, before a meal, after a meal, before your coffee, after coffee, at night, before bed, which I typically don't recommend for most people. Most people reporting plunging right before bed kind of keeps them up all night long, and that can interfere with your sleep cycles. However, plunging maybe about 3 hours before bed could be immensely beneficial. And that's actually the protocol that I followed to get rid of 2.5 years of brutal insomnia. So if you would like more information or more details, I've counted more than 30 variables that can impact how any person responds to cold water on any given day. You can check out our article, How Cold and How Long. I co-wrote this with Robin Landis, who is an amazing individual. Shout out to you for all of the contribution and work that you do and the exploration with mental health and physical health, both. So you can check that article out on my website at chestfreezercoldplunge.com. Go to the article section and just scroll down. It's in alphabetical order. You can find that article, How Cold and How Long. If you'd like to join my free Facebook community, that link is in the video description. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. And if you're looking for any gear or stuff for your cold plunge, if you got an existing cold plunge, you want to keep the water clean, hey, I have ozone generators that I sell that helps me support our community and my family. And your patronage is greatly appreciated. And you can find those things, the ozone generators, chillers, liners for your chest freezer, all of that gear is on my website. And quick note about this, I only use gear, I only promote gear, I only sell gear that I have a relationship with a company. I've tested the products, I've vetted the products, I know they're high quality, and they last long term. And I've got feedback from people all across at least the US, and in some cases the world, over many years that these products actually do work, and they do work well. There's a flood of inexpensive, low-quality products on the market right now, and they're very appealing because they're low price. However, over the long haul, they're going to end up costing you more in terms of not just money, but time and frustration to operate. They break down, they don't work as well, they cost more to run because they're not very well designed, and I encourage you to support US manufacturers, US companies. And I'm a small business, and I have a family, and this is what I do to support my family. So thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any comments below. You can put those in the comment section. I'm happy to answer questions. Happy cold plunging.